guys, welcome to the session. I'm Ankana, your master teacher for social sciences at Vedanta, hoping all of you are doing absolutely amazing. So people, today we're going to get started with our most awaited chapter. I think a lot of you kept on pinging me, ma'am, Nazism, when will you start? So we have finally started and welcome to the first session. And guys, let me tell you in the beginning itself, this is going to be a very interesting chapter. I think I just love reading about Nazism and how all of it happened, and I would love for you guys to enjoy that thing as well, and I will try my best to translate it in my teaching as well. Okay, so let's quickly get started by discussing the answer to the previous session's question. It was I think the question was, which part of India receives the maximum amount of rainfall, and the answer is Mawsyn Ram in Assam, right? And people who have answered the fastest are Minky Jha, Manju Philip and Keshav Gandhi. Congrats my dear students, I'm so proud of you. My heartiest congratulations. For the rest of you who have not been able to make it to the leaderboard, guys, let me quickly tell you, all you need to do is answer the fastest, not in the live chat but in the comment section. Okay guys, so this is the index for today. We'll start with the introduction and we'll cover it up to the year of depression. So let's quickly start with introduction. So whenever Nazism I say, or whenever I hear, the kind of things that come into my mind are, okay, so Hitler was trying to kill the Jews, Hitler was trying to make Germany the superpower. So all of these things is what in my mind describes Nazism, right? But is it, that's it? I mean, like, is that really what Nazism is? No. Nazism, guys, was actually a system. It was a system, it was a structure of ideas, of, about the world, about the politics, about the people. And that's how it was born. It was an idea that was born somewhere and got propagated and translated into everybody. Yeah. So I think it was just an idea that made Germany, it was not just an idea that wanted to make Germany a superpower or wanted to kill a bunch of particular people, but it wanted to redefine the whole world, the whole scenario of politics. So that is what we mean by Nazism. Now it started through the World War II, but we're going to understand all of it. So we will look at what happened before the World War II, what happened during the World War I, and then what happened as an effect of that. So actually, after World War II ended, Germany lost the war and they had to surrender. Now they surrendered in May 1945, but in April, Hitler and his whole family, along with his propaganda minister, the person who used to propagate all his ideas and everything, Goebbels, committed suicide. Now guys, can you guess why did they commit suicide? I mean, like, a person who was so brutal, a person who had such big ideas and wanted to destroy the whole country in a way and redefine the whole world, killed himself. The reason was because they were aware of the kind of crimes they had committed against the people and the world, and they were aware of their brutality, the extent of brutality of their actions, and now that scared them because now they had lost the war. What scared them was because they were afraid that what they have done to the world will now come back to them. As a result of that, to save themselves, they killed themselves. And a tribunal was also formed. So the Allied forces, the Allied forces is the forces which was fighting against, on the other side of the Germany, which was fighting against them. That was of France, that was, France, England, Russia, US, all of them, right? So that was the other end. So they actually created this tribunal at Nuremberg that was set up. Okay, so in Nuremberg, an international military tribunal was set up to actually try for the trial of these people, for the Nazis who had committed these crimes. Now the crimes that they had committed was not just normal war crime, okay? The crime was against humanity, against peace, okay? The kind of things that they did was propagating the war. It was to lead the war ahead, and these crimes were not forgivable. It was something that they had to pay for. So let's see what were these crimes which is making it sound so serious, brutal and heinous. So what happened, guys, in Second World War, when it started, under the impression, under the shadow of war, they just said that it is the war that they're fighting, but under the shadow of war, they started another war that is also known as genocidal war. Now, what do you mean by genocide? But a genocide is basically mass murdering, okay, murdering people in huge numbers, and that is what these guys did. They murdered particular groups of innocent civilians in great big numbers. These people were Jews, these people were the gypsies, even the Germans. They did not even leave the people of their own country, the true Germans, if they were physically and mentally handicapped. The idea for them was to make it a superpower, the country, right? So if these people were not going to be of any use, they were even trying to eradicate them from their own, like from the existence, which is so inhumane. And that is what these guys were trying to do through the Second World War. So they, in fact, in order to kill the people, they came up with some unprecedented, which means something that has not even been known to the people. So they came up with ways of killing people that was not even known before. People even had no idea. They were gassing people in particular centers, and people were breathing that gas and dying. And for such heinous crime, for such inhumanity, is what they finally paid a penalty. Penalty did came around, but of course it was nothing in front of the kind of crime that these guys had done. So this Nuremberg tribunal, this international military tribunal that was set, they sentenced few of the Nazis, which were very, very brutal, to death. Okay, they were actually given a sentence of death, which means they were supposed to be hanged, they were supposed to be killed. Few of them, however, were imprisoned. Okay, because the allies, these people who won the war, did not want to be so harsh, so inhuman towards them. They did not want to fall to the same level of the Nazis how they had been to the people of Germany, right? So after this, what happened was, people started wondering that why did the Nazi Germany came into existence? What was the reason, guys? Why did it start, and how did all of this start? So it is believed by a lot of people that Germany actually transformed into Nazi Germany after their experience in World War One. It is because of what they had to face in World War One. So let's move on and understand that what happened in World War One, and we'll start with the birth of Weimar Republic. Okay, see, so what happened was, before World War One started, which was in 1914. Okay, before that, in the early years, Germany was a very, very prosperous, a very powerful empire, right? The emperor was one of the most powerful ones across the world. As a result of which, when First World War started, they of course participated, right? In 1914 to 1918, they came along with the Austrian Empire, and they were fighting along with them against these allies. Allies, who were they, guys? England, France, Russia. So you can also remember it as fear, okay? F for France, F for France, E for England. Now you might be thinking, ma'am, what is A? So ultimately, these guys were actually on the losing end, but they were then joined by USA, America. So A for America and R for Russia. Okay. Now let's understand that what was happening. So Germany started fighting these allies along with Austrian Empire on the other side. In fact, they were very enthusiastic, very excited in the beginning of the war, because they were kind of winning. They had some small successes. For example, they actually occupied France and Belgium, but that was a very short-lived thing. The moment these allies were joined by USA, America, the A in your fear, in 1917, they really strengthened, and Austria and the Austrian side and the German side lost the war. So naturally, they were now on the losing end. They got defeated along with the Central Powers in November 1918. So all these short-lived happiness and victories were now gone. But the problem is that with this defeat, the Imperial Germany, the monarchy, the emperor, all of this was formally given up. Okay, there was an abdication, which means formally giving up something legally, right? So that was now given up. The emperor was given up to the parliament parties. Okay, so now what happened was that these parliamentary parties were already in existence. People were already demanding for democracy and republic. So they got a great opportunity to recast the German polity, to redesign everything. They find it as a perfect opportunity. So National Assembly was set up already. They met in Weimar and they finally established a democratic constitution. Okay, they drafted a constitution and designed it in terms of democracy, and they were trying to establish republic as well. Okay, they were trying to establish Germany as republic as well. Now, guys, they came up with a federal form of government. There was no particular center, so they had already been with an emperor. They wanted to set everything right, democratic republic, the correct form of government. Okay, so all these people who were actually going to be a part of the government, were going to form the government, the deputies were actually elected by all these citizens of the country. In fact, earlier women were not allowed to vote. This time even the women were casting votes as adults. So universal adult franchise is what we get to see, right? And that is how the German parliament was constructed, and that is how it was made. But the problem is, any country, when they are being allowed to be democratic, when they are being allowed to be republic, will they refuse it? Will they be unhappy? No, right? I mean, like, I would definitely not be. I cannot imagine a country with not being republic, not being democratic. So if I'm just in case in a country like that, and if I'm being offered that, I would love to take it. I would be very happy that the government is trying to act in that direction. But the people over here were not happy. Their own people, their own citizens were not ready to accept the Weimar Republic. Now, why would that be? Why somebody, the citizens of their own country, would not be happy with a republic construction, or you can say creation? So let's see what was the problem with them. The reason was the outcome of the World War I, of their defeat. Okay, so because the outcomes of the defeat of the war was very, very harsh and very, very humiliating and insulting for the Germans. They were not at all happy, and especially the people, the general people, the citizens were not at all happy, satisfied with that. What happened was, they were blaming the Weimar Republic for all of the after effects of the war. They were blaming them for the defeat. They believed that it was the National Assembly, it was the Weimar Republic which made the Germans lose the war. And they also believed that the Versailles Treaty caused them a huge amount of disgrace, insult, and humiliation. All of that was also caused because of the Weimar Republic. Now, what was this Weimar Republic and what were these insults? So, first of all, let's understand what was the Treaty of Versailles. So, after Germany lost, the World War I, they were taken into the Hall of Mirror, which was in the Palace of Versailles. We have discussed this. The first meeting actually happened over here long back, right? The creation of National Assembly of the middle class men. Okay, anyways, so in this palace, they actually signed a peace document. Okay, they signed a document after the World War I, kind of accepting their defeat and signing that, okay, now we are up for peace, we are done with the war. So this was actually signed after World War I, against the, along with the allied countries, along with the allies, okay, and the associated powers. Germany had to sign this, but under this they had multiple conditions. They had a lot of things that they had to go through. So they basically had to gave up all of its colonies. Guys, this is 1918, right? So in 1980, people even now had a lot of colonies. Colonization was still in part. Remember, Britain even had colonies in India at that time. We got freedom in 1947, right? So colonization was very, very common, and naturally Germany also had a lot of colonies overseas across the world. So they had to give up all of their colonies, the 10th of its population, 13% of its territory, 75% of its iron, 26% of coal, to France, Poland, Denmark, and Lithuania. Now you can imagine, France they had occupied during the war. Now after losing, the thing that they had occupied was now taking things away from them. How insulting it must have been for them. Now even the parts of a lot of parts of Germany was demilitarized, which a demilitarization basically means removing the military from there. The idea was definitely to weaken their power. Now how is it weakening their power? If we remove our soldiers from our borders, what will happen? We are now exposed and vulnerable to all our enemies, to all our neighbors. They can enter it anytime. We won't be able to protect ourselves. We will be at the mercy of these countries, of these other countries which would be more powerful than us. And that was the idea of the allies, weakening them militarily, in that aspect. And then of course there was a war guilt clause. Now this was a clause that made them pay heavily. So what happened was, now allies, whatever damage they had got, okay, financially, financially, in terms of lives, in terms of properties. And the reason they had to go and fight war, they were now blaming Germany for that, and they held Germany responsible for it, and they said that because we have suffered so much, you will have to pay for it. And as a result of which, Germany had to pay a huge compensation in order to compensate against the kind of losses that these allies had to go through, right? In fact, the allied armies even occupied it's a very resourceful, rich part of the Germany, the Rhineland. Now you see, everything is being taken away from them. All the colonies which were making them profitable was taken away from them. The resource rich land was taken away from them. The military were taken away from them. I mean, like, the areas were taken away from them. So all the power is what they were losing. See, already they had been in war, guys. They had already depleted all of their resources. Any country when goes into a war is very, very cost consuming, right? They invest a lot of their finances and resources into it. Now they had already been into war themselves. It's not just the allies that were fighting the war. Germany was fighting the war as well. So most of its resources were already depleted. On top of that, they were now compensating with 6 billion amount of money to the allies. So imagine, on top of that, it was another financial setback that they had, which was going to cost them a lot. So now all of the people were holding the Weimar Republic responsible for that. Now let's look at the effects that the first war had on the people. So naturally, the republic that was now created was carrying this whole load of the after effects of the war, right? They were carrying the guilt, they were carrying the insult, they were carrying the national humiliation, which they were not even responsible for. The republic never started the war in the first place. It was actually started by the emperor. It was actually started by the empire which was there earlier. But they were actually suffering all the causes of it. They were crippled. They were kind of made, handicapped financially because the kind of compensation that was forced on them, that they had to now pay for, which they did not even started in the first place, right? And the kind of effects that the war had on the people, on the government, all of them left a huge dent on everyone, be it psychologically, be it financially. People were now really scared, right? And in fact, they were very powerful initially. We just discussed some time back, right? So they were Europe in general was a part which was a creditor, which used to give money out to people because they were so prosperous, they were so rich. But after the war, they had actually turned into one of the debtors, which means they had now started lending money. They had now started borrowing money instead of lending money. They had no resources, no money left, right? And the Weimar Republic was forced to pay for all of these sins which they had not even committed in the first place. It was committed by the old empire. In fact, there were few people who used to be supportive of the Weimar Republic because they knew that it was not really their fault. But these guys were not even respected in the society. These guys were now mockingly called the November criminals because people were completely against them. And a new mindset was being seen, guys. The kind of effects that the war had left, people had a huge shift in the kind of mindset that they were developing now. They were changing as person, and the impact that it had was very different. Okay, and this is the impact, the change in the mindset that had is what now determined the new political developments that was going to happen in the early 30s, right? And what were these developments? So we see that the politicians and the publicists were continuously stressing that the people need to be very aggressive. The men of the country need to be very aggressive, strong and masculine. Why? Because after the First World War, the kind of imprint, the kind of impression that it had left was very deep on the European society and the polity, right? The whole scenario was completely changed. And we see that the soldiers all of a sudden became very important in front of the whole country. They were actually kept above the normal civilians. They were given more respect than normal civilians. In fact, the support for conservative dictatorship now grew. The idea of democracy, the idea of republic in such an unstable government, in such an unstable condition was not supported. People were thinking that it will not be able to survive, and they were saying that we need to be ready for war again. Aggressive war propaganda was being promoted. Okay, continuously people were being promoted to kind of mind washed to go get ready for war. Okay, which means they were already planning for this. In fact, national honor, the honor of the nation, the respect of the nation is very, very important, because right now they were really, really humiliated. That is what was being kept in the center of everybody in the public sphere, and that is what now people were trying to focus on. So see, let me tell you guys, the life of the trenches, the life of the soldiers is what was being, glorified in front of everyone. People were saying that the life of a soldier is a life of full of respect. Okay, and that is why they were given a standard above all of the civilians. Then that was being done because they were trying to be mind wash the people to be ready for the war. However, this was completely untrue. The life of the soldiers were completely miserable. They were trapped in these trenches. What are trenches, guys? You can see in the picture also over here, right? So trenches are basically a land which is dug where these soldiers hide and live so that they can save themselves from the fighting, from the attacks of the enemies, right? So that is where they used to live, and the life over there was miserable. They did not have proper food, they did not have proper place to sleep, nothing. They would actually survive by eating the rats, the dead bodies that was over there. Imagine how terrible it must have been. They used to face the poisonous gas that was being sent to them, sent on them from the enemies, and in fact their shelling also. And they witnessed all of this, and in fact they were being glorified. I mean, like, the life of their life was being glorified for this, which was not known by people and which was not true. And they, in fact, this rank that was given to them, which was higher than the civilians, that also fell very, very soon. Then what was the political radicalism and economic crisis? So let's quickly see. See, parallelly, while all of this is going on over here, we have already read about the Bolshevik Revolution, the Russian Revolution, which was parallelly going on in Russia also, right? So the Weimar Republic, no matter how difficult it was for them, they were trying to survive in the society. But there was something else that was uprising, that was trying to come up in the society at this time. That was the Spartacist League. Okay, guys, the Spartacist League was just like, you can say, a replica of the Bolsheviks in Russia, right? They were the Communist Party of Germany. So initially, when they started uprising, the Weimar Republic somehow suppressed them. Okay, somehow by hitting them with some jugaad, they kind of suppressed their uprising, but they couldn't hold it for a very long period of time. And this instability, this whole turbulence that we see that the country was going on with, is what paved the way for Hitler. Now, it all started with this economic crisis in 1923. So you know that they were paying, they were paying back all these reparations for the war, right? They were paying back this compensation for the war they did not even started in the first place, and they were paying this in the form of gold. Now, in 1923, their gold was completely depleted, and then Germany said that, hey, we do not have any money left with us, we cannot pay you. So as a result of this, France occupied their industrial leading area rule, which from where they started taking the coal away. See, they already did not have money, guys, on top of which they were already paying all of this, and they were put in a situation where they were weak financially, militarily, every way possible. Now they are saying that we do not have any money left, please leave us alone. France said, no, you have to pay for what you have done, and they occupied their largest industrial area. So this made Germany really, really angry, because whatever source of money they had is being occupied the Allies continuously, and they were now being set into this position because of these guys. So what they did was they gave a very, very strong resistance, and they retaliated. They gave an answer back by recklessly printing their paper currency. The notes, because that is printed in the country itself, they started printing it recklessly in huge, huge amounts. But you might be thinking, ma'am, what is wrong with that? It's okay. There would now be more liquidity of cash. People would have more money. So the thing is, guys, all of this, see, and I used to think it like that as well, that whenever there is recession, why don't we just print more money? It doesn't work like that. There's a proper calculation in order to maintain the world economy that is printed in every country, and that is why that determines whether a country is rich or poor, because how much cash is supposed to be there in the society, in the nation. Now these guys were going way beyond that, as a result of which the value of the currency, the result of the value of their mark collapsed. Okay, for example, right now let's say in Indian rupees, $1 is equivalent to 70 Indian rupees, right? 70 INR. So that is, you see the difference, that is a lot. But if right now India starts recklessly printing their currency, the 70 rupees might turn into 7,000, which means 7,000 of our rupees will be equal to $1. So you see the kind of difference that will start existing, which means the Indian rupees value will keep on falling down, and as a result of which the prices of all the goods, they sunk. Okay, and the whole economy got completely changed. Now every good was available for a very high amount of price, because the value was very less. Something that was being sold for 10 rupees now was being sold for 1,000 rupees, because this 10 rupees meant that did not have the value of 10 rupees that it had earlier. And this is known as hyperinflation. So hyperinflation is a situation where the prices of the goods rise phenomenally very high, right? So at this time America realized that we cannot leave Germany like this. They have gone crazy. Okay, and they actually came into now with their intervention, they came into the scenario, and they were like, okay, I will hold your hand, I will drag you out of this pathetic situation you have gotten yourself into. And they bailed Germany out of this crisis by introducing the Dawes Plan. Now what was this Dawes Plan, bacha? It was actually designed by Charles Gates Dawes, in fact, for such an amazing plan, because it really helped Germany from reviving this great economic crisis. He was even given a Nobel Prize for this. Now what was this Dawes Plan, bacha? So this was a plan which provided a whole new reordering, of the conditions that were in the treaty that Germany had signed, the way it was paying them back. Okay, and it also put the kind of conditioning that was there with the Allied occupation, with the Allied forces, the kind of conditions that were there with the Germany, that was put to an end, and a new pattern, a new plan of payment was designed, which was kind of staggered, which means the amount of money that they were paying together was not put into parts. You can think it as a part of installment. So in kind of EMIs, they were now going to pay back their allies. Now this plan was really successful, and that is why Charles K. Dawes got a huge recognition and applause for this. Okay, so this reworked the whole terms of the reparation, the compensation that they were going to give to the allies, and that as a result of which eased out. Okay, the kind of burden that Germany had on its shoulder was eased for them. Now that after that we see year of depression. So you might be thinking, ma'am, why depression now? I mean, like, the burden on their shoulders were eased out now, right? So why did this depression came? So let's see, why did this depression come, bacha? So from 1924, that is when the Dawes Plan was planned. Okay, that is when they signed this. So right from 1924 to 1928, some stability in the society of Germany was seen. Economically, they were comparatively way more stable, but they were completely dependent on short-term loans, which majorly was being paid by USA, because they had drafted this plan. So the plan that they designed was that they will take small loans from USA, and they will start paying their allies, so that the loan on their head also does not increase so much. They're able to pay them back eventually. But they had never anticipated that the USA in itself will crash in terms of economy, that the market over there will crash. And guys, a recession came. Okay, so the support that USA was giving to Germany was withdrawn in 1929, because the Wall Street Exchange had a crash. All the prices of the stocks went down, and the market completely collapsed, and this was known as the Great Economic Depression. Guys, this is a very important part. It may be asked for a 1-mark question, that what was the Great Economic Depression. So the whole stock market, the whole Wall Street Exchange crashed in USA, as a result of which in the next 3 years the national income of the USA also fell down, and people were now very skeptical. People who had put their money in the market got really scared. They thought that all their money that they had put into the market will now be lost. So they took out everything, all the investments, all these money that were put in by all these people, the farmers, the workers, was now being withdrawn. Okay, which means there was no flow of cash in the market as well, as a result of which the industry shut down, the exports fell, they were not exporting anything, the imports also fell, and everyone, including the farmers, the workers, were greatly hit by all of this causes the economic depression, and all of them withdrew their money. Naturally, this depression had a very adverse effect. This depression did not have an adverse effect only in America but across the entire world, because America was a superpower, guys. So they had a lot of things in control, they had a lot of things running. Now when America, when the superpower, when the father, when the main head only collapses, imagine what will happen to the rest of the world. So that is what exactly happened, and this was felt I mean, like, across the nation, across the world. And of course, as a result of this, Germany, which was greatly dependent on USA, had a great hit because of this. So in the next session we will have a look at what happened to Germany because of this Great Depression. Let's quickly look at your homework question. Before that, I just quickly want to discuss about the Vedantu Pro subscription, guys. As you know, you have all these issues constantly, right? You are having continuous doubts, you're not sure which notes to refer to, which book to refer to, tests and assignments, competitive exams, how to prepare for them, how to have enough amount of practices, what schedule to follow, and what choice of language should you have. All of these problems have now been solved with a lot of bonuses, guys. You have all the classes which are going to be unlimited and live. You don't have to worry at all the micro sessions and crash courses are now going to be free and accessible for you if you become a part of this subscription. If you are not able to understand, let's say the year of depression is something that you have not understood, so you can again go and attend the rise of the rise of Hitler, Nazism. That chapter you can keep attending as many times as you want till you understand the year of depression. Whichever topic, whichever subject you want, this is going to be there for you. Then of course, access to all the crash courses and in class live performance reports. Whatever you appear for, you don't have to wait for the mentee. And then of course, personalized attention, one-on-one attention. You don't have to worry that where will my doubt get resolved. And all you need to do is go on the link given in the description box, or which is pinned in the comment section. Choose your grade, choose your board, check out all the details that's there, bacha, and then just click on the get subscription button. You'll get 3 plans of 1, 3 and 6 months. Whichever is the most suitable for you, go ahead with that. And all you need to do is apply my code AKEPRO. The moment you apply this code, you will get a great discount, bacha, more than 20%. In fact, 24th, 25th and 26th, during this time you're gonna get a discount of 50%. How awesome is that? That is the Dussehra discount for you. So make sure you are going and clicking on this description link in the description box, or which is pinned in the comment section. Now let's quickly look at your homework question. Germany's genocidal war was against which of the following people? Jews and political opponents, Gypsies and Polish civilians, Germans who were considered mentally and physically disabled, or all of the above. With this, we have come to the first end of the first session of Nazism. I hope you liked it. Do tell me in the comment section, guys, and do not forget to hit that like button, and please subscribe to the channel if you have not already, so that you get the notification immediately after we come with the second session of this chapter. And I will see you guys very soon in the next session, guys. Till then, take good care of yourself and stay safe, stay home. Have a great day ahead, guys. Bye.